What if the words spoken beside a hospital bed could change a life forever? In this heartfelt story, Officer Lee Wen lies unconscious, caught between dreams and reality. Yet every whispered confession from Sam reaches his soul. Her love becomes his anchor, awakening a powerful vow within him to rise, to live, and to ask her to be his wife. With trembling determination, he chooses love over fear, ready to seal their forever with a simple ring. Don't miss this emotional journey of devotion and hope. Subscribe now and follow their story of love, survival, and destiny fulfilled. The fever had taken hold of Officer Lee, pulling him into a state of unconsciousness that felt like drifting through a foggy, endless dream. His body lay motionless on the hospital bed, machines quietly recording every fragile beat of his heart. But inside that haze, his soul lingered on the edge of awareness. There, in that delicate space between sleep and wakefulness, he began to hear faint whispers, soft as the wind brushing against his ears. At first, he thought it was part of the dream, some figment of his imagination conjured up by the fever. But then the voice became clearer, warmer, trembling with emotions he could recognize even in his weakest state. It was Sam. She was sitting by his bedside, her hand carefully wrapped around his, fingers clutching as if letting go would mean losing him forever. Lee could not open his eyes, could not respond, but her presence flowed through him like a steady flame in the darkness. "Lee," she whispered, and he felt the subtle vibration of her voice echoing in his chest. Her tone cracked, fragile like glass ready to shatter. "I'm so scared. I don't want to lose you. Please come back to me." Each word seeped into him, breaking through the fever's grip, stitching itself into the quiet corners of his heart. Tears fell from her eyes, and though he could not move, he sensed the warmth of her tears as they touched his hand. She bent closer, her breath brushing against his face, her words tumbling out like confessions long held back. "I thought I was strong, but without you, I'm not. I can't imagine my life without you by my side. Do you hear me, Lee? I love you. I love you so much." Those words, raw and unguarded, reached deeper into him than any medicine ever could. In the silence of his unconscious state, Lee found himself clinging to them, repeating them in his mind, letting them anchor him against the darkness. Though he could not answer, though he could not squeeze her hand or whisper back, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Sam's heart was reaching for his, and he would hold on to that lifeline until he could wake up and tell her that he had heard every word. Within that blurred twilight of consciousness, where dreams wove themselves into fragments of reality, a single thought began to crystallize in Lee's mind. The sound of Sam's trembling voice had carved its way into him, shaking loose a truth he had always carried, but never dared to fully embrace. He didn't just want to protect her as a man sworn to duty, he wanted to protect her as the man who would stand beside her for a lifetime. Somewhere inside the fever, through the haze of pain, the image appeared so vividly it nearly brought him to tears. Sam standing before him, radiant and shy, her eyes glistening with unshed tears as he slipped a wedding band onto her finger. That vision burned brighter than the illness, warmer than the weakness pulling him down. The realization struck him with quiet force. He could not wait any longer, could not let fear or hesitation steal even a single moment more. If life was fragile, if fate could be so cruel as to bring him to the brink of losing everything, then he would meet it with courage. He would not let another day pass without binding himself to her. The vow began to form within him as solemn and unbreakable as the badge he wore. When I wake up, the first thing I will do is ask her to be my wife. He imagined the day vividly, as though willing it into existence. He would search for the most beautiful pair of rings, simple yet timeless, a symbol strong enough to carry the weight of his promise. He could already picture Sam's reaction, the widening of her eyes, the disbelief that would soften into tears, the way her lips would tremble before breaking into that tender smile he cherished above all else. He would kneel, not as an officer, not as the protector she leaned on, but as the man who had been humbled and remade by love. Every word she had whispered to him in this silent room became a thread in his determination. She loved him. He knew it, now, beyond any doubt. She had confessed her heart when she thought he couldn't hear, but he had heard every syllable. It was as if destiny had chosen this strange, fragile moment to reveal the truth to them both. And so, even as his body fought the weight of sickness, Lee held on to that promise like a lifeline. When the darkness lifts, when his eyes open again, he will not waste another heartbeat. The ring, the question, the forever. They would come first. Time stretched endlessly in that hospital room, marked only by the steady rhythm of machines and Sam's quiet breathing beside him. Yet, deep within, Lee clung stubbornly to his promise. And then, as if summoned by her love, the darkness slowly began to recede. The first flicker of awareness came with the warmth of her hand against his. His lashes trembled, the weight of his eyelids heavy, but he forced them open, revealing eyes that had been closed for far too long. The first thing he saw was Sam, her face pale from sleepless nights, her eyes wide in disbelief, and then spilling over with tears that shone like morning dew. "Lee!" Her voice broke into a sob as she pressed her forehead to his hand, overwhelmed by the miracle of his return. He wanted to speak, to reassure her, to tell her he had never truly left. His throat was raw, his body still weak, but he managed to whisper the words that had carried him back. "Sam, I heard you." Her head snapped up, her eyes searching his with astonishment. "I heard everything you said." She gasped, her lips trembling, but before she could respond, he gathered what strength he had left. Slowly, painfully, but with a determination born of love, Lee shifted, reaching into the drawer of the bedside table where he had asked a nurse to keep a small velvet box he had purchased long before his illness struck. He had carried it with him for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Fate had delayed him, but it had not defeated him. With shaking hands, he opened the box to reveal two simple, elegant rings that gleamed under the sterile hospital light. Sam covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming freely down her cheeks. Lee's voice wavered, but his gaze never left hers. "You gave me the strength to come back. You gave me a reason to fight. Sam, will you be my wife?" For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stand still. Then Sam nodded through her tears, her voice breaking as she cried, "Yes, yes, of course, yes." She threw her arms around him carefully, afraid to hurt him, yet desperate to hold him close. And in that embrace, the hospital room no longer felt cold or bleak. It felt like the very beginning of forever. Lee closed his eyes briefly, inhaling the scent of her hair, the reality of her love grounding him more firmly than life itself. He had made a promise in the darkness, And now, in the light of her acceptance, it was fulfilled. What awaited them beyond this moment no longer frightened him. Together, they would face it all as husband and wife.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tử Sam Review. Vậy là trong tập ngày hôm nay, trong lúc mê man bất tỉnh trên giường, lúc Sam nắm tay cảnh sát Ni thổ lộ tình cảm của mình, thì cảnh sát Ni đã nghe thấy hết những nỗi lòng của Sam, và anh quyết tâm là sau khi anh tỉnh dậy thì việc đầu tiên anh làm đó chính là việc đi mua chiếc đôi nhẫn cưới để cầu hôn Sam. Liệu rằng anh cầu hôn Sam có thành công hay không? Sam có chấp nhận lời cầu hôn của anh hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ ở các tập tiếp theo. Các bạn hãy bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Lý Tử Sam Review. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn. Bye bye!